Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to show you how to convert a classic quiz with a question bank into a new quiz with an item bank. And to do that we're going to go into quizzes and we're going to look at the classic quiz that I want to change, and that's this chapter 2 quiz. We can tell it's a classic quiz because it has this outline of the rocket ship instead of a solid rocket ship, which would indicate a new quiz. So let's take a look at this classic quiz, and you can see it's a 20-point quiz with a time limit, multiple attempts, 2 of them enabled. It's going to keep the highest score, and it's got the due dates. And if we go inside this quiz, we can see that it's picking 10 questions from a test bank, and that's why we have to make this video, because if this weren't using a test bank, it's really easy to convert it, but because we're using that question bank, it is going to be a little more difficult, not impossible. And I just want you to also notice that I've selected to let the students see their quiz responses only after the quiz closes. So that's why there's a date in here to show the correct answers. And I just wanted to show you that because that is one thing that isn't available in new quizzes. You can limit what they see, and there's actually a lot of options for limiting what students see after they complete the quiz, but you can't automatically release all the correct answers at a certain date. So let's go back to quizzes. And the first step to do this is we're actually going to create a quiz, add all of those possible test bank questions to it, export that out, import it in as an item bank, and then create the new quiz. So it's a lot of steps, but please follow along. So let's create a new classic quiz by clicking the blue plus quiz button in the upper right corner, select classic quizzes, and click on submit. And when you're naming this, name it exactly what you want to call your item bank. So I'm going to call this chapter 2 item bank, and I will then go to the questions tab and select find questions, and I will navigate to the correct question bank, which is chapter 2, and I'm going to click on select all, scroll to the bottom, you can see that it's 37 questions, and click on add questions. And there they go, it's populated that. So now that I've created this quiz, I can click save. And eventually we'll delete this quiz because you wouldn't want a quiz hanging around that has every single question in the test bank in it. So now that we have that created, we're going to export this particular quiz using settings in the course navigation list and selecting export course content. For export type, we're going to select quiz, and we don't want all the quizzes, we just want the one that is the chapter 2 item bank. That's the one. And then we will click on create export. And once this content's been exported, you'll get this confirmation as well as a blue link above that says new export. That's the one you want to click on to download that quiz export file. If you look up above, it's going to name it the name of your course, quiz export.zip. So that's important to note if you're looking for that particular file. So now to import it into the item bank, we're going to actually create an item bank by selecting item banks on the course navigation list on the left. We'll create a new bank using the plus bank button. We're going to name it, but it really doesn't matter what we name it because once we've imported that new item bank, it's going to overwrite this name. So I'm just going to name this chapter 2 for now, and I'm going to select share with because that shares it with the current course that I'm in, and then click on create bank. And now we can see it here. It's labeled chapter 2. I'm going to click on the word chapter 2, and in order to bring those questions in, we're going to click on the 3 dots in the upper right corner and click on import content. From here, we can drag and drop if we have that file handy, or select Browse. And again, we're looking for the name of the course, followed by quiz export.zip. And for me, that zip file is in my downloads folder. So I'm going to double click on it. And there it is, it's ready. And I will click the import button to bring those questions into this item bank. Okay, and that took a little while, probably about 5 minutes, but I did get this confirmation that it worked, and I can click on Done. And you'll notice that it's renamed this item bank to whatever the name of that quiz was that I exported. So now that we have that named, we can go back to the course and we can go into quizzes. And before I make the new quiz, I'm going to delete the one that we created just to do the import-export. So that's this one called Chapter 2 Item Bank. I'm going to click the 3 dots and delete that. And now we're going to make the new Chapter 2 multiple choice quiz. So to do that, we're going to click on plus quiz. This time we're going to select new quizzes and then submit. And I'm going to call this Chapter 2 quiz. And I'm going to put new, even though it's not really necessary, just so I know that this is a new quiz. And it's really important under points to put the correct number of points. So the old quiz was 10 questions and they were worth 2 points each. So I want this to be 20. And just note that whatever point value here that you add, this is going to override the points everywhere else. So let's say you only bring in 1 question or 2 questions and they're only worth a point each. It'll still make that entire quiz worth 20 points if you put it in this area here. You can always come back and change it, but you don't want to make changes after students have taken a test just because it can get messy and you'll have to regrade and all that stuff. So now that we have the points, we are going to fill in our due dates and match these to what we had previously set up for our classic quiz. And once you've added those dates and point value, the next step is to click the blue build button, which is going to save what I've done here and take me to the place where I can add my questions. So here we are in the question area, and to bring in random draw questions from the item bank that we just created, we're going to select item banks above, and we're going to choose our item bank, which we've labeled as Chapter 2 Item Bank. So we'll click on the name Chapter 2 Item Bank. And this is going to be a little strange workflow, but you're going to click on this plus all random, which is temporarily going to add all 37 questions, but we'll fix that in the next step after we click on the little X to get rid of the side menu. And then we're just going to click in this area here that is the Chapter 2 Item Bank area inside of the quiz. And now we have the option to randomly select questions instead of using all the questions. And when you randomly select questions, then you can put in the number of questions, which in my case is 10, and the points per question, which I want to match up with my total. So I'm going to put 2, so that's going to be 20 points total. And just note, if I left this at 1, the quiz would still be worth 20, but the students, when they take the quiz, would actually see that each question is worth 1 point, but then when they finish their test, they'd be out of 20 instead of 10, so it can be confusing. So you want this to match up as best as possible. So in my case, I'm going to put 2 points per question and then click on Done. And that's it for the linking the test bank to this quiz. Now we're going to go into Settings. And here's where I'm going to try to mimic what I had in my classic quiz. I had Shuffle Answers on. I don't really need Shuffle Questions, only because it will do that automatically because we're randomly drawing from an item bank. The other thing I had was a time limit, and it was 20 minutes for my 10 question quiz. And you'll notice that it's auto-saving, which is a nice feature. There are some options that I could add. I could allow clearing for multiple choice, which is kind of nice. Students can click a little link under the question to clear what they've previously put in there. We are going to allow multiple attempts because that's what we had earlier. And where it says unlimited, I'm going to change that to limited. And they have 2 attempts, so this is exactly like it was before. But I do like this new feature, waiting period. This is going to, like it says, require time between attempts. So this is nice so students don't automatically just take the test right after they've finished the first attempt. This requires them to take a little time, maybe do a little studying. So I'm going to make them wait at least an hour before their second attempt. And I love this feature, build on last attempt. It basically lets students on their second attempt, whatever they got right on the first attempt, it's going to automatically credit those questions. It's going to take them off the second attempt quiz so that, let's say they got 9 out of 10. The next time they take that test, the second attempt, they'll only get that one question that they missed. So I really like this feature from a student perspective. And then here is the restrict student result view. And when you turn this on, it's going to hide all of their results. So a student isn't going to see any of the points and all this other stuff until I come back and turn this off at a later date. And unfortunately, at this point in time, Canvas hasn't added that date feature where I can release those responses and the answer key after the test is closed. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad. Hopefully they add that later. But it does give you some options here. I always put on show points awarded because it's going to show them that anyways in the grade book. But I don't want them to see any of the answer key for the items and questions. So I'm going to leave the rest of this unchecked. And that's basically it for building this new quiz. And I can go click on return. And here I am in my quizzes. And I now have my chapter 2 quiz that's new. And it's going to match very closely to my classic quiz. And if you want to test this out, you can do that in the build section, or you can publish it and then do it as a student in student view, which is always how I kind of like to do it. But if you wanted to test this before your students could see it, you can always go into the quiz, click on build, and then select preview in the upper right corner. That's it. Thanks for watching.